crossed into the month when the campaign will kick off. And already the dynamics for the race and shaping up. Tonight we speak with one of the presidential candidates, Sowore. The internal wranglings in the PDP appears not abating as more reactions trail the crisis brewing in the party. But where does the party go from here? Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sowore in Abuja. Let's get to it, everyone. We're now keeping our eyes off the ball as far as the strike action and the continued closure of classrooms in our federal universities are concerned. It's now 202 days since the university lecturers in the federal universities in the country began the strike action, keeping students away from the classrooms. The standoff between the federal government and the university lecturers continue, despite the intervention of the federal government and the Minister of Education. The university lecturers are insisting that the demands must be met. We're now looking forward to the stakeholders getting their acts together to resolve what has become a national embarrassment. Yesterday on this program, we had the former governor of Kano State, Senator Ibrahim Shekarau, who was explaining the reason behind him dumping the NNPP. Senator Robbie Ukwenkwonso is speaking on the matter. Let me allow you to listen to what Senator Ukwenkwonso, the presidential candidate of the NNPC, had to say about Senator Shekarau's defection from the NNPP to the PDP.
We formed this party, and in his own wisdom, he decided to join us, which we are very happy. And later, for whatever offer with the PDP, he decided to leave us. And now he has, I understand he joined PDP. We wish him well. Life will continue. But let me tell you that our politics in this country, especially in Kano, is not based on big names. No. If you are talking of big names, they are not in PDP. I mean, they are not in our party in NNPP. They are not here. But we have the voters. And everybody, including the so-called big men, at the end of the day, that's their place of call, the voters. So that's our strength, the strength of Konkosia, the strength of NNPP in this country.
Response of Senator Ukwenkwonso to the defection of Senator Shekarau. Now, tonight, my first guest is the presidential candidate of the AAC. You know him very well, Sowore. Before we get talking to him, I'll allow you to listen to some of your political roundup stories.
The Social Democratic Party says it is determined to wrestle power from the ruling All Progressives Congress, which it says has mismanaged the affairs of the nation, leaving many Nigerians in abject poverty. The presidential candidate of the party, Adewale Adebayo, also took a swipe at the federal government on the ongoing strike by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, accusing the federal government of being insensitive to the plight of the striking lecturers and students who have been at home for about 6 months now.
Anybody who is saying ASU should call off the strike without resolving this issue has no love for the children of Nigeria.
Hundreds of All Progressives Congress and People's Democratic Party members in Oyo State have defected to the New Nigeria People's Party. Oyo governorship candidate of the NNPP, Mr. Joshua Pukwola, who received the new members across the 33 local government areas of the state, says majority of Nigerians are frustrated with the two major political parties.
They are all tired of APC and PDP, both in Oyo State and in the country at large.
The Election Petition Tribunal sitting in Jos High Court has nullified the election election of Honorable Musa Aga as a member of the House of Representatives representing Jos North, Basa Federal Constituency under the platform of the People's Democratic Party. The tribunal held that Honorable Aga was not validly nominated by his party and did not score the highest valid vote for the by-election. The court, however, declared Mohammed Goni of the People's Redemption Party, who came second, as the winner. Meanwhile, the Jos High Court has discharged and acquitted a former governor of Plateau State, Senator Jonah Jang, of alleged misappropriation of the sum of 6.3 billion naira belonging to the state. Also discharged was a former cashier in the office of the State Secretary to the Plateau State Government, Yusuf Pam. The court, presided over by Justice Christy Dabu, in her judgment, discharged and acquitted Senator Jang and his co-defendant of all the 17 count charges in the alleged criminal trial, saying the prosecution lacked evidence to prove the allegations of embezzlement and misappropriation. The People's Democratic Party governorship candidate in Abia State, Professor Uche Ikonne, has promised to introduce participatory governance if elected as governor in 2023. Mr. Ikonne made this known to newsmen in Umuahia during the 31st anniversary of the creation of Abia State, where he assures the people of the state of provision of basic infrastructure across the state.
There will be prosperity for workers, for entrepreneurs, all Abians.
The International Republican Institute, in partnership with Women's Democracy Network, is training female candidates under the People's Democratic Party ahead of the 2023 general elections. According to the resident program officer of the institute in Nigeria, Mr. Santiago Stocker, the aim is to train the candidates on campaign management, overcoming the barriers of women's political representation, campaign policy planning, and efficient use of the various media platforms to publicize their campaigns.
Our mission here is to support the people, the society, and the government of Nigeria in deepening democracy and achieving good governance.
And as activities towards the 2023 general elections gather momentum, religious leaders have been challenged to promote the much-needed peace and unity among Nigerians and actively participate in the electoral process towards the enhancement of the nation's political space. The governor of Ogun State, Dapo Abiodun, gave the advice while declaring open the 9th Annual National Convention of Anglican Christian Fellowship, Anglican Communion, Remo 2022, with the theme, Go in This Thy Strength, held at Ikena in Ikena local government area of the state.
Permit me to use the opportunity to urge the church to be actively involved in the process of preaching peace.
Thank you so much. There, you've been served. In a matter of weeks, in fact, later this month, the 2023 presidential campaigns will commence, and the Independent National Electoral Commission says it will publish the final list of presidential and National Assembly candidates on the 20th of September 2022, and that of governorship and state assembly candidates will be published on the 4th of October. Amidst all the frenzy and the preparations are the main issues, the real issues that will shape the race. Tonight, we'll speak with one of the presidential candidates in the race. Is a presidential candidate of the AAC, Mr. Omoyele Sowore. He joins us live in our Abuja studio. Thank you so much, Mr. Sowore, for joining us tonight.
Good evening.
Your second time around.
Yes.
You ready?
Very ready.
What makes this time around different from the last time?
A number of things. I think in 2019, Nigerians were not exposed to so many of the things we're talking about, of inequality in society, the fact that Nigeria was tipping over. And I was the only candidate who participated in 2019 that did not stop campaigning or advocacy. I engaged immediately after the election in a number of revolutionary activities that took me to jail, came out of it, and it was part of virtually every education and conscientization of the citizenry to let them know the mistake they made in 2019. And we are here now. So many of those things are percolated down to the people. They've come to understand that we were saying the truth, and they wish they took our advice in 2019. So I'm back, not that I went anywhere, to just exercise that duty to take Nigerians, away from the tipping point until a turnaround. And I honestly felt like if only I played just my campaign videos in 2019, I only need to do much more work in 2023. But there were people who didn't vote in 2019 who are now eligible to vote. And we need to keep talking to them on these issues that can make sure that we do not continue in this trajectory of failure that has become the national mantra of Nigeria. And for those of us who have been around for so long, in my case, 32 years of experience fighting for democracy, consolidating democracy, and ensuring that the people of Nigeria are not shortchanged in the course of being citizens of this country, it is time for us to take it to a home run.
Your slogan from the last time seems to have changed.
It hasn't changed. It just has evolved based on the dynamic nature of the political situation in Nigeria. In 2019, we were using Take It Back. We still use it. But we've gotten to a point where we are emphatic that we can't continue like this. That's the new slogan.
With your campaign the last time, you only garnered about 33,000 votes. I
was allocated 33,000 votes by INEC.
You don't think that that's the original votes that you got?
I have said it on oath, under oath, when I was arrested and arraigned, that I didn't believe that the election was legit. I said it on.
What makes you think so?
Because I knew
you must have. I mean, you should have, or you must have evidence to back your claims.
Even though I was not involved in election litigation matters, the litigation of that election, showed the underbelly of the election. It wasn't legit election. We were there. I participated in elections. So
but the court said otherwise.
Well, the courts have, there are times that you have court of law and court of justice. There was no justice in that pronouncement, in my view.
This time around, AAC, there are a lot of troubles between 2019 and this time around. The tussle over leadership. For those who think that you were not, you came and snatched, or you came and took over the structure of the party.
Not true. I founded the party.
There are issues in your party.
We founded the party. There's no way you can steal what belongs to you.
Have you resolved those issues in your party?
Yes, the Court of Appeal judgment has resolved that as of June 2nd, 2022.
And there hasn't been any appeal in that matter?
Not that I know of. There was an appeal at the Court of Appeal, but I was told that after reading through the judgment, which was declarative, they withdrew the appeal. But, I'm sure with people like us and parties, revolutionary parties, the troubles never end. We're fighters, revolutionaries, so we can expect any surprise at any time, but we're always ready.
You were considered one of the alternatives in 2019. With the state of the race right now, ahead of 2023, do you see yourself as one of the alternatives? Third force was the word that was used at the time. This time around, is it fourth or fifth force, or what? Where do you stand?
I'd never accepted to be regarded as a second-class person or third-class person. We are running a race. Everybody should bring their ideas, their manifestos, and everything they've got positive to the table. It is up to the media to call people or label people whatever they like. I only attended a meeting in 2019 where they said all the young candidates should meet. And when I got there, I knew that it wasn't the kind of thing I wanted to do. And I went out to espouse my ideas. I traveled to 34 to 35 states in Nigeria. And I didn't have a helicopter or a private jet. Reached out to people in the north, south, east, everywhere. These ideas were clearly documented, and I spoke extensively about how to pull Nigeria out of the doldrums. When you talk about alternatives, that means you have already accepted there's a first class, second class, or third class, or forces. The only forces we should be talking to are the Nigerian people, the forces who want to liberate themselves at all costs. That's the only cause.
Can you compare your structure or your party with the? There's some party that are being on the ground before your party came in.
Yes.
And you and I, as we seated here,
yes,
there's someone who is being into this world before the other.
Yes.
There's definitely someone who's been in this studio before the other.
Yes.
There is an advantage of the first comer. There is an advantage of size also, and there is an advantage of resources. Do you agree that there are some parties who are bigger than your party or your own platform in terms of the structure, the number of their members, and that could be an advantage over your own platform?
There are a lot of big for-nothing parties in Nigeria. Ours is a compact party that's focused on pulling Nigerians out of poverty and misery. I do not consider big parties on the basis of size. I consider them on the basis of relevance and importance and value that they bring to the people of a country. We used to have big parties in this country who boasted, bragged that they will be around for 60 years, and overnight they were defeated. So I don't want conversations to surround the mathematics of size, but it should be the mathematics of relevance and content. And that's where we keep talking to the Nigerian people about. Our party came into existence in 2018, August. There were 29 parties formed on that day. You probably haven't heard about any one of them. There were a number of presidential candidates in 2018 and 2019 that came out, who are not part of the legacy parties. I'm probably the only one who's around today because I never stopped doing what I've always spoken to Nigerian people about, that the issues are more important than the people who are in these big parties and the money that they have. And what I said in 2018 and 2019 is now what those people who were mocking us in 2018 and 2019 are doing. That they used to mock us that we don't have structures. Well, we told them the people of Nigeria are the political structures of Nigeria. And wherever they decide to pitch their tent is where the structures will be. And that's what they are now using, that, we don't need structures, we need people. Because structures are nomenclatures for how you define pockets of interest politically. But people don't go anywhere, even when the structures change name, they change character, and they change in their nature. And that's what we've been saying to the Nigerian people.
If you said that you don't believe and you don't agree or accept the 33,000 plus votes you got in 2019, what do you perhaps imagine was the number of votes that you got in 2019?
There's no way you can calculate the number of votes you got if your votes were passed through a basket in which that had no credibility. I cannot be imagining that this would be the number of votes when the processes for voting, counting, and announcing results are completely compromised. And that was what 2019 was about.
You think 2023 will be different?
Well, we hope it will be. And if it's not, they better be ready for the consequences. It's not a threat. It's our fundamental rights to participate in elections and get the right results.
Have you ever seen yourself in the spiritual eyes or in the psychological eyes or in your mental picture yourself becoming Nigeria's president?
Oh, yes.
How many times have you seen yourself doing that?
It's not spiritual. I think it's a function of my belief in my citizenry, I believe in my dreams and aspirations. I've been seeing myself as I said it that I would have been a better president of Nigeria at the age of 22 than the guy who was president at that time, the military leader, Babangida, or Abacha, when I was in my 20s. I would have done a better job than any one of them. I'm not saying it to brag. I knew it that mentally I would have governed this country better than all these persons. And it's what I call on young people in Nigeria. Don't let anybody douse the validity of your dreams as long as you believe in yourself. Because it's those kind of ideas that have made those big countries that we refer to as at all times about how great they are. But you look at their leaders, they're young people who believe in themselves. Even when they are old people, they are driven by new ideas. Here, old ideas, old people, analog and antiquated thinking. There's no country that can survive this kind of very deadly, poisonous cocktail of leadership.
So you are prepared for 2023 campaign and the race, and you think for you have learned your lessons?
I didn't lose any lessons that I need to learn. I'm telling you that
you don't think that there's something you need to do differently to win the election this time around?
Of course, there's always something to do better of in every election cycle. Like I said, you have new demographic coming into the new elections. There's a way you talk to them. There are ways in which you interact and engage with them that's probably different from 1979 when you relied on radio jingles. There's now Twitter, there's TikTok, there is Facebook, there is Instagram. There are new players on the field. But these are dynamics that goes with development.
But do you think you resonate with the demography that you're referring to?
Absolutely. And how do we do it, or how do you know it, is because of the issues and the ideas that is running the campaigns even today. I'll tell you, I don't want to mention names, but even some of the newer candidates today who are making a buzz practically took a leaf from our campaign strategies in 2018 and 2019. This idea of traveling to the diaspora, I did it in 2019. I went all the way to Australia, 4 cities, 7 cities in the US, 5 cities in Canada. I went to South Africa. I went to Ghana.
Are you doing that this time around?
Well, I don't have an international passport because the Buhari regime is still holding my international passport and have not allowed me to travel. I still have a treason charge hanging on my neck as I'm speaking with you tonight. That has not been resolved.
Are you able to travel outside of Abuja?
Yes, that's been resolved. So I'll be in Lagos on Monday.
Okay.
And I've been to Ondo State and Nasarawa State since that was resolved in the Court of Appeal.
Do you perhaps consider that some of your approach the last time was perhaps extreme?
Name one.
No, I'm asking. It's a question.
No, because I don't know. You have to tell me. You are the one who is.
No, I'm asking you the question.
There's no.
You are assessing to move forward.
There's nobody
so the question
who has faulted my approach.
No, I'm asking
in
you.
2019.
If you consider any of if you're being charged for treason,
no,
that means there's something
I was charged for treason.
That was being questioned.
No, I was charged for treason.
If you didn't win the election, that means that something went wrong.
No.
If you are going again to campaign to be Nigeria's president and another term, that means there's something that didn't go right, man.
No, what didn't go right is the Nigerian factor, as we like to call it. If in 2019 I was allowed to debate Buhari and Atiku in the national TV, there's no way half of the country will not change their mind that night. But I was excluded. If in 2019 I had the resources that we needed to reach as far as where we should go, including sometimes security. You're entitled as a citizen to get security. The police, we applied to the Nigerian police, they didn't provide us security, even though we traveled to 35 states, including current day Zamfara, Sokoto, some of the.
But they gave others.
They gave others, yes.
Others got this, and that's the reason. One of the reasons I'm asking: do you consider your approach perhaps out of place? What could have caused you being denied, based on your claims, some of these privileges?
Because the Nigerian state is an oppressive state and is intolerant of citizens, and what they do is only to take care of a few of them and they exclude the rest. Exclusion is not a political policy and practice that's acceptable in a democracy. So it's just like asking Mandela why the apartheid regime did not allow him to get security at his house when he was fighting against the regime. That's what happened to me. I was charged for treason the same way Mandela was charged for treason. I'm not comparing myself to Mandela in any way. I was charged for treason because I questioned authority. I was charged for treason because I said enough was enough and Nigeria needed a revolution, and I still believe that today. So it's not that I did anything wrong. It's that something is wrong with the Nigerian system and Nigerian leaders or rulers. And that's what we've exposed up to this point. So there's nothing extreme.
So
if anything at all.
You had time to introspect.
Oh, introspection was it. Look, if you spend 4 months in detention, solitary confinement, you have plenty of time to sleep, introspect, read, especially when you don't have a cell phone with you, no distraction. And I came out after 4.5 months in detention. I became a better person, stronger, more courageous. I left the place based on the prediction I gave them. I said, when it's time to release me, you come and beg me to leave. They came at 2 p.m., say, Sowore, go and pack your things. I said, I'm not ready to leave yet. It was Christmas Eve. They came begging. I said, didn't I remind you that when you are done with your stupidity, you will ask me to come and go? Of course, they haven't run the course of that already, but it will still come to pass because these are some of the things that must happen in the country for that rebirth to happen. And that's where Nigeria is headed. It's the reason I was telling you that whether they like it or not, let them go and rig the election. People are using the election as a way of saying, okay, maybe they'll get their senses right. If the elections don't get it right, people will resort to other options. Yes.
I mean, you are 4 years older from the last time.
Yes, I'm 51 years old now.
You are 51 now.
Yes.
So there are perhaps things, and you have crossed a certain, you have moved to the 5th
decade of my life.
Yeah. So, and there are some things that you do, not do, Now that you are now over 50,
like what? Tell me.
No, I'm building up a question.
Yes.
And you have always fought and always cried about exclusion and said, oh, you're this and that. Perhaps there are reasons for this happening. For those who are criticized you in 2019, that there is some kind of youthful exuberance that you've expressed or shown, and that was one of the problems at the time. How would you react to that?
No. People say that when they have nothing to pin on you. You know, when I was in the university at the age of 22, and we were fighting for June 12th, fighting with Abibola, do you know what they used to call us? Delinquent, juveniles. They used to accuse us of juvenile delinquency. It's university students. They don't know what they are doing. But it was the same delinquent juveniles that delivered democracy to Nigeria. In 1999, I was one of them. Femi Falana, Gani Fawemi, they call them names. Fela Anikulapo Kude, they say, oh, he's always on drugs, Beko Ransom Kude, they say it's a doctor who doesn't want to practice medicine because he doesn't know medicine. There's nothing they don't call us. That comes with the nature of our calling. So what is youthful exuberance in asking for democracy or asking that the thieves in the country...
But perhaps you're not the only one asking for such.
No.
But perhaps your approach. That's why I brought out the issue of approach
The question of approach is conviction sometimes. It's a question of how quick and how fast you want to liberate yourself.
Let me take you up on your social media engagement. Yeah. You seem to be all out against supporters of Peter Obi.
No.
The obedience.
No.
I mean, and your comments on social media as being regarded as harsh against the obedient movement. Why so?
No, that's not true. The only time I've spoken about them is when I realized that they were harassing people, and as a person who believes in human rights, I just said to them, you don't have to tell people who to support and who not to support. And this idea of trolling and harassing people might get people killed. And one of my first interventions that is considered harsh was even in support of Reno Mokri, somebody who has done everything in this world to lie against me. But, when it comes to his fundamental rights and he has a 1-year-old daughter who he said was genuinely threatened, I came in and said, this is wrong. You shouldn't be threatening a 1-year-old girl. And nobody should be threatened because...
So you don't see Peter Obi as a threat?
No. Why would I see Peter Obi? Peter Obi is part of the old system that I've always fought. I understand where he's coming from. This is 1999 repeated. Nigeria wants to change. Some young people are genuinely interested in change, different direction. And then they are presented with somebody who works for the establishment. Somebody who's been in PDP, ABGA, come back to PDP, Labour Party. Is not new to a rotten system. Somebody who was 8 years as governor of a state. You can be emotional about it, but that's the truth. Didn't, build any schools, didn't build any industry, didn't have a power station. It's not my kind of progressive...
So anybody that is in government, as far as you're concerned...
Anybody who's been in government for 8 years and has nothing to show for it, it's not my right candidate for
There are
Nigeria.
a few people who have been in government that are running in this race. The candidate of the PDP is there, the candidate of the APC is
Maybe
there.
you have not been following my social media postings. That's why you said maybe I'm against obedience. I've been after Atiku. I've been after Emilokon, Bola Tinubu. I've been after Kwakwanso, but less because, I don't have much.
Why do you go after them?
I go after them because we need engagement in elections. Elections are not just about espousing ideas. It's about telling people who they can vote for and who they shouldn't vote for.
Whose turn is it this time around?
Our turn. The people's turn. Our look on.
So, in this sense, why should Nigerians look your way? Or why should the demography you were describing earlier look in your direction?
I think what people present to voters is one, records. They present integrity, they present ideas, programs. And I have said it, if there's any candidate running in this race that's been consistently on the side of the people, in my own case, 32 years experience on the side of the people, helping to fight for democracy, consolidate democracy, fight all the bad guys, somebody who will stand up for you in the middle of the night. If a policeman is harassing you, beating you up, I'm the person. If someone who has never participated in stealing resources of the state, has never participated in any conspiracy against the Nigerian people, has never, ever participated in any shady activity politically. Personally, you can look in my direction.
What is the biggest idea you think you bring to the table?
The biggest idea is liberation and freedom for Nigerian people, and this includes economic freedom, security, it includes their right to education, it includes their right to healthcare, free healthcare. So many of these things can be provided for free, and most importantly, to restore the dignity of the Nigerian person, and by extension, people of Africa. I mean, Pan-Africanist is the reason why our party is the African Action Congress. It's not the Nigerian Action Congress. Because I know if Nigeria gets it right, this is a trigger. The African peace too will fire the right way.
Unfortunately, we will not be able to discuss your manifesto because the time is not ripe just yet. But
well, I hope you keep bringing me back.
We'll bring you back, yes. Definitely. You are a presidential candidate and you have the right to speak your mind. The law permits you to do so, isn't it? Thank you so much.
Even when it doesn't, my rights can trump the law if the law is unjust.
Thank you. Omoyele Sowore, the candidate of the AAC, thank you so much indeed for your time tonight.
Thank you so much for bringing me.
We'll take a break, everyone, and when we return, our attention will be on the PDP and the internal wranglings of the party. What is the way forward for the nation, the main opposition party? Stay with us, everyone. We'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Our eyes are still on the issues in the PDP, People's Democratic Party, the internal wranglings. Let me allow you to listen to the spokesperson of the PDP, Mr. Debo Ologunagba, talking about the issues in the party. Take a listen to him.
This party recognizes every member of this party and respects the contribution of every member of this party. And I must tell you this. What is key is this. The entire membership of this party, leaders and stakeholders, agree on one issue, including all the parties, including Governor Wike, agrees that Nigeria issue is actually the big issue. How do we rescue this country and start the rebuilding process? We all agreed on this issue, including Governor Wike, who is an important member of this party, who we consider to be an important member of this party. And we can't wish that way. However, this party is People's Democratic Party, not one man Democratic Party. And that is what distinguishes us from other parties.
That's a spokesperson of the People's Democratic Party. Now, where does the party go from here? You've been hearing what Governor Wike has said. You heard what has been attributed to the national chairman. Now, 2 major organ meetings have been called off so that the party can resolve the differences. The Governor Ahmadu Fintiri team, the Atiku's team, led by Governor Ahmadu Fintiri, had met with the Wike team in Port Harcourt. There was another meeting in London. All of these is aimed at resolving the issues. But the BOT meeting will not hold, the NEC meeting will not hold until these issues are resolved, basically for the party to move forward. But how does this happen? It doesn't look like things are being resolved. Governor Wike said yesterday, if the chairman wants to help the party to lose the election, he will participate in that. Well, what does this mean? Let me get 2 gentlemen into the conversation tonight. I'm being joined by the Commissioner of Information in Delta State, Mr. Charles Aniago. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Thanks for having me. Good evening, viewer.
And virtually from Ibadan is a former Deputy National Spokesperson of the PDP, Mr. Diron Onifade. He joins us from Ibadan. Thank you so much, Mr. Diron, for joining us tonight. Odeyemi, apologies. Perhaps I should begin with you, Mr. Charles. Give us a sense of where do you think this is going. Does it look like it is better now than the last 1 or 2 weeks?
Well, let me tell you that the reason why you are witnessing, because I wouldn't say only members of the party, why I say Nigerian, this particular issue have occupied the front burner of public discourse, is because not only that the PDP is big, but the prospects of winning the 2023 general elections, particularly at the presidential level, is far, far higher for the PDP than any of the other political parties.
The party stand a bigger chance?
Very bigger chance. And that attracts a whole lot of individuals and a whole lot of expectations. There are those in the party who will not want to leave because they know that the party is most likely going to form the next government. There are also a whole lot of other individuals who are out there who are also thinking of how to come into the party. Beyond wanting to be part of the rebuilding of Nigeria, there are also a number of persons who want to be noticed at this moment, so that by the time the party wins the election, they are also they are recognized and possibly brought on board to play a very crucial role towards the rescuing of our country. And so what is happening is expected. A while ago, I heard you talking about the transfer window and the transfer market, and I do know that you are a very keen supporter of Chelsea. Yeah. At a time like this, you see a lot of confusion. Some persons who want to join another club and some other persons want to come in. And the big clubs usually are the ones that occupy a center of public discourse. That does not mean that there are no other smaller clubs. And when the smaller club loses, nobody talks about them. So there are a number of political parties in the system today, but you don't hear much about them. You don't even know whether they have internal democracy. You don't even know whether the candidates that have been contesting election in those political parties have always come from one region of the country or even one state, because you don't believe that they are coming on board to do something. But when you see the big parties, and in this case, particularly the PDP and APC, individuals will get interested in what happens there. But I'm happy about what is happening now. You also have other players that are coming into the scene. They are raising the stake. But I can assure you that the PDP is positioned to win the next election as part of what's happening at this moment. And by the time the campaign starts, you will see that the number of persons will key in. Most of the dramatic personnel are involved in this election. Either they have their candidates that they are supporting and they will not want to lose that election, or they themselves are candidates. And so when the time comes for them to begin to campaign, you will see that they will just have to come in. It's like during examination. Individuals who may not want to read, who will be very busy playing football, the moment the exam starts, you see them, they begin to burn the midnight candle. They forget that there is a club to go to club in the night. But before that time, you know what we'll call them? We'll just call them some individuals who, I don't want to use that word, jumping here and there and looks as if they are not serious. But the moment the exam starts, you discover that that student who is very busy jumping from one club to the other now comes in and then sits down to read. That is what is going to happen. Once the campaign starts, the nitty-gritty of the issues that you need to put in place for the purpose of winning the election starts. All these ramblings that you are seeing here and there, I can tell you to simmer down.
Well, of course, I'm a huge supporter of Chelsea and I'm a huge supporter of Kwara United. Those are the two major football clubs that I support. But you realize, Mr. Charles, that your principal is perhaps one of the reasons why all of these rift, one of the reasons that have been raised. You realize, right?
Well, that is not very true. It depends on where you stand. The issue is that there are a lot of facts. Don't forget, activities usually throw up issues. Before the issue of emergence of candidates, there were issues as to which region the candidates will come from, because at that moment, that was the issue. And when the election took place, a candidate emerged from the northern part of the country. Of course, the next activity was the issue of having to now bring up a vice presidential candidate who is going to be the running mate of the very able candidate from the north. And the PDP, because it's the party that's very much more prepared than any other political party, was the first and only party to produce a substantive vice presidential candidate without having to introduce into our lexicon the issue of a placehold. Other political parties, because they were not prepared, were very busy shopping for who was standing as the running mate. And because the PDP was able to take that stand, it became the issue. Because who want to discuss placehold? It was nothing. Remember, when the APC was eventually able to bring up a substantive running mate, it became an issue, because that was an event that was big enough to trigger a public discourse. So it's not a question of my principal being part of what you thought had happened in the party, but because his emergence, the first person to be nominated by a major party as a substantive running mate, was big enough to throw up an issue. To throw up issues.
Let me bring Ms. Odeyemi into the conversation. Ms. Odeyemi, give us a sense of what you make. So one question that I've asked over and over on this matter, when sometimes 2 weeks ago I thought this matter would have died naturally, and it still lingers, and there is this back and forth, especially when the issue of children, these children, and the governor of Rivers State had responded to say, well, these children are the ones that have sustained this party. From where you're sitting, where do you think the problem really lies? And perhaps, why is it so difficult to let go? And why is it so difficult for this problem to be resolved?
Thank you very much, Sheung. I want to align myself with Mr. Charles that, the bigger the head, the bigger the headache. Of course, BDP is a big party, and you don't expect this kind.
Oh, there. When that is resolved, there's been some frozen frames. Okay, it's back. Go ahead. You were frozen for a moment. If you can just backtrack for about 20 seconds because we lost you for a moment.
Okay. What I'm trying to say is that the problem you think is in PDP now is because the system through which PDP often resolves its crisis have failed. When I say it has failed, the first thing is by the time the vice president was being unveiled, the statement made by the presidential candidate Atiku, was not all that good. Let me put it that way. Let me put it mildly. And apart from that, there was a time the presidential candidate traveled out of the country and they left Wike alone to think and plan. It is the outcome of that planning now that we are now seeing. Though Atiku made an effort to go and see dialogue with him in London, but the condition has always been in the South. What are you giving us, to be able to participate fully in the campaign? And what we mean in the South, you cannot have the presidential candidate from the North, the chairman of the Governors Forum from the North, the chairman of the BOT from the North, and the chairman of the party from the North. And there was this belief, let me put it belief, that the chairman, Ayu, said when he was chosen as the chairman that he will resign that position if a northerner emerges as the presidential candidate. Now they are shifting the goalpost that it is after the president wins the election, that is when he'll be able to resign. And I think this is the problem that we have. And until we are able to resolve this, you will observe that yesterday, Chief Bode George lent credence to what Wike was saying. And you are only listening to Wike. You don't know of many people in the South who are aligning with what the demand is. And the demand is in the South. Give us the chairman so that there will be equity, justice in the party. Yes, there is this argument that is the constitution of the party says that if the chairman leaves, the person that will take over will also come from the same senatorial district. Yes, this is good. But my argument on that is that there is also this constitutional stipulation in the party that if the presidential candidate comes from the North, then the chairman of the party must come from the South. If by whatever calculation, political miscalculation or calculation, that we are not able to follow that, I think there should be political arrangement in such a way that we satisfy the South as being represented by Wike, Bode George, and other leaders.
Mr. Ode, apologies to cut in quickly. Now, one of the issues or question mark that's been raised on this matter that you have talked about on the rearrangement and that the national chairman should step aside is the fact that from the very top, that's how you align the positions in the party. Where does the presidential candidate come from? The North, then the opposite side will have to be where the national chairman comes from. But now, if you remove the national chairman alone in the old structure of the party, then you defeat the purpose of the balancing that you're talking about. And you are bringing the national executive of the party, you know how delicate and how intricate these issues are. It does look like the party may be going for another national election, isn't it?
Whatever can bring peace, whatever it is that can make us work in unison to win election in 2023 should not be an issue this time around.
Will Senator Ayu being on that chair stop your party from winning the election?
Can you repeat the question again?
Will Senator Ayu being the national chairman into the election stop your party from winning the election?
It's not about him stopping us. It is about equity. Demand of the southern part of the country, who are equal stakeholder in this party and who wants to join hands with the northern candidate to win an election. It is about that.
So, Charles, if some of your members are saying there is no equity, there is no fairness, there is no balancing in all of this, you have said, look, your party stands a very big chance of winning this. I don't know on what basis, on what analysis or what figures of fact that you have to support that claim that you have a big chance in winning this election. But will all of this issue of injustice and lack of balancing not stop your party from playing its role of winning the election like you claim?
When we call the PDP People's Democratic Party, it is not just a name. It's because the party is democratic in all its processes. And that means the ability for the leaders of the party to be able to listen to different shades of opinion. Unlike other political parties where you can wake up and say, this is the owner of the party, or this is the national leader of the party. As we speak today, you can't wake up in PDP and say, that is the national leader, and that is, you can have, at the moment, somebody who is leading the pack. And in this case, Atiku Abubakar, being the presidential candidate of the party, is one leading the party at the moment. And then if the table changes, it goes to another person. Unlike other political parties where you just have one person sitting as more or less a permanent national leader of the party. What that means is that the PDP is going to be in a position to look at these different issues. And then when you have a big party like the PDP, there is bound to be a number of disagreements on a number of issues. My brother have raised quite a number of issues with respect to the feelings among members of the political party. And I can assure you that the leaders are examining these issues. He has also said that whatever needs to be done for the purpose of getting the party to win the next election will be done. That includes even some other persons also having to shift ground. If the leaders examine it and lost, like you asked, that is going to be practically impossible for us to have a shift, a change, I can bet you that every other person, because they believe in the party, including those who are agreed at the moment, will allow it be until after the elections. But they are asking that these other persons, if it is important, that we can look at this without having to shake the table, let us take that decision. But I can assure you that once the leaders come together and they're able to examine that it might be practically impossible to be able to have a rearrangement of the position as skewed as it is at the moment, these individuals will make that sacrifice. Leaders of the party have continued to make sacrifice across the length and breadth of this country. You recall that the likes of Olabode George have always played very prominent role in the party. He has been a deputy national chairman of the party, right from the formative years of the party. He has more or less become part of the conscience of the party. So even when they are aggrieved, a time comes where they have to sit back and say, look, do we just have to carry on? Or do we need to just put this under the carpet for a while until we win the election and then we'll not begin to do some form of rearrangement?
When you're raising the issue of your party's democratic credential, people will remember the days of Audu Ogbe and how he got out of office, the days of Ogbulafo, name them. There hasn't even been one or two, not even more than one person. I mean, even Secondus, that would have been the first person that would have spent his term in office, did not even finish his term in office.
First of all, when you're talking about democracy,
and I'll go back to 2015, the major, or 2014, the walkout at the Eagle Square. When you're talking about the democratic credentials of your party, allow me to bring in Mr. Odeyemi. So there is a major problem. Your party has had this major issue of internal
in the party that allows those views. The democracy in the party is why you have these views.
So I raised the question earlier. Nobody is cowed. Because one of the reasons I had an interview with the former governor of Delta State who said it was the internal injustice that was happening in the PDP that made them lose in 2015. Mr. Odeyemi, do you see that playing out again if the party is not careful?
The circumstances are quite different and the situation are not the same. This is why it is not right to justify what happened previously to this situation and circumstances that we find ourselves today. They are quite different. The situation we find ourselves now is that, in a way, we have circumvented the constitution of our party by having the chairman from the north and the presidential candidate from the north. Whatever it is that could be done in terms of political solution is what we should do to right the wrongs and appease whoever and all the groups that are aggrieved, so that we can go to that election with one voice and with one somebody. So they are not the same. That's just my opinion.
Does your party stand a good chance this time around? And I'd like you to back it with evidence. What makes your party stand a good chance of winning this election, different from what you saw in 2019?
From all indices and from all indications, apart from PDP, which other political parties stand a better chance than PDP? No, this is our time. We have a good candidate in Atiku. That is not contestable. And the situation in the country has even campaigned for us as a political party. We know what dollar and pounds are now saying. We know the situation of every Nigerian, including yourself as a journalist. So the campaign has been done for us, and we know that right now PDP will win that election. It's only that by the time we roll out our manifestos, you know that a strong plan for Nigeria, and by the special grace of God, we are going to win this election.
All right, Mr. Aniago, I asked you that question, but you didn't quite answer. Why? You were the first person who said your party stand a strong chance of winning this election. Why does it
much better chance?
There is a Peter Obi, there is Omoyele Sowore, there is Bola Tinubu, there is Kwame Konso, there is a host other presidential candidate. Why do you think the PDP stand a bigger chance?
We're asking Nigerians to employ us. And let me put it to you, if you're an employer of labor and you invite individuals to come for interview, and then one decides to come by 10 a.m. when he's supposed to come by 8, and another one comes by 7:30 a.m., and then when he comes in, he has all his papers with which he's ready to write or answer whatever questions you throw at him. First of all, that one has shown that he's interested and very willing to do the job. Atiku is that man who has come 7:30 a.m. ready to do the job. He's the only person in this campaign that has a covenant with the Nigerian people, a manifesto, and what he wants to achieve. Atiku says, I have a 5-point agenda, namely the issue of managing...
You can't go in the manifesto just
yet. So he has all those things.
By law, we are not
as
permitted.
we speak, none of the political parties, including the ones that are speaking grammar, they say talk is cheap. Atiku has gone beyond talk to be able to put it on ground to say, these are the challenges confronting Nigeria, which my brother have mentioned, that today, the APC, by their abysmal performance, particularly at the national level, have helped us to do more than 70% of the job. Because the Naira in your pocket is dancing much more than the football in the foot of Okocha. So with that acrobatic dance of the Naira, do I need to tell you that you need a government that could strengthen the Naira? With the issue of insecurity that have been there, in short, the only thing the APC government have democratized since the last 7 years is insecurity. It was confined to the northeast geopolitical zone of the country when they came in. They so democratized it that every geopolitical zone now has insecurity all over. That is the only thing they have been able to democratize.
All right.
They have also been able to, again, democratize poverty, such that poverty has become very pervasive. So with all that, and the credential of Atiku and Okowa, both what they have done, what the PDP did in the first 16 years, we are not having any doubt that the PDP has the next election, not only to win, but that we win by the grace of God.
We need to go now, and you just have less than 60 seconds. I'll give Mr. Odeyemi 30 seconds of a parting shot. And this is the area in which I like you to touch on, is in the area of what is happening in the south-south region of the country. There seems to be a political unrest in your party in that region. That is a major issue. What is the way forward? Just 30 seconds.
As far as I'm concerned, we don't have any issue in PDP other than rearranging ourselves to ensure there is equity and justice among the leadership, and especially in the South.
Charles, 30 seconds. Your parting shot.
Our party is very much positioned to win this next election. The very good thing, which is the number one thing, is that we have a candidate who is more or less a professional in managing diversity. The failure of the APC-led government is their inability to manage our diversity. And Atiku is an expert in that. So beyond the other issues which are symptomatic of this failure to manage our diversity, I can assure you that with Atiku Okowa in the saddle, Nigeria will not only be better, but jobs will return to this country and our economy will be something better for it, such that Nigeria will also be brought back to winning ways.
Thank you so much. Mr. Charles Aniago is the Commissioner of Information in Delta State, and Mr. Diron Odeyemi, a former Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the PDP, who's been speaking with us from Ibadan in Oyo State. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming out tonight.
Thanks for having me.
And I wish you your
Thank
party
you very much
good
for the
luck.
opportunity.
Thank you.
Well, that's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks, everyone, for watching. I'm Sowore. Bye-bye.